Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dive Into Diet. I'm with the star of the show, Lucas Schmidt. What's going on, man?
Here to talk about food.
We're talking about food today, and
Yeah.
not only that, we're getting personal, too.
Personal
Personal favorites.
We're talking about my top 5 favorite foods. My favorite foods.
Now, let's go ahead and do like a precursor. This is not something that you're recommending everybody should be in their top 5.
Not necessarily. No. Now, I will say some of the reasons these foods, a big reason they made it onto my list is nutritional. So they are healthy foods generally.
Okay.
So it's not like, because if I did just based on taste, none of these, I mean, some of them might still be on the list. Cinnamon rolls would be on the list, and that's not going to be on the list today. So what I did to sort of formulate this list, and I have it here just in case, not that I should forget my favorites, is...
Do I like this? Do I not?
I can't remember. The criteria would be nutrition and taste and maybe like texture, right? So it's like a mixture of those things, mostly nutrition and taste.
Nutrition, taste, not convenience, just nutrition, taste.
I guess convenience could be in there because they're mostly convenient.
Well, there we go.
Coincidentally, I didn't think of that but they are mostly pretty convenient to eat. They're easy.
Okay.
Typically. So this will probably be split into 2 episodes. We'll have to be to be continued because I'm going to try to go into some nutrition on each of them.
So we're going to explain these. It's going to be in 2 parts. And are you going to go in order or?
Okay, yeah, I thought about that. No, this isn't like number 1 is the best.
Okay.
This is just like these are 5 of them, and I love them. Next year my opinion might change. I used to eat a salmon fillet every single day.
Really?
And then one day I cooked it, and I took a bite, and I got not like throw up sick, but I felt like I can't do this anymore. Like all of a sudden. So my palate changes quick. I still like salmon, don't get me wrong.
So
it's not on my top 5.
So salmon's not there. So I think what Lucas
is good for you.
Lucas is saying there's going to be an updated version of this.
Yeah, this might change. This might change every 6
But this
months.
is as of right now, 2023.
Yeah, these are foods that I consistently find myself eating.
Okay.
I find myself buying them and looking forward to eating them.
Okay.
Generally, none of these foods do I go, nah, I'm not in the mood for that. So that's. So my first one is grass-fed beef. I like grass-fed beef. So.
And like, what is that? Like ground chuck? What is grass-fed beef? Is that like
it's
a steak?
It's just the cow. Yeah, there's different cuts of the cow or the beef. So I like it when it's grass-fed nutritionally.
Okay.
So if you were to slice off a cow's shoulder or the shoulder of beef, and you looked at it next to a grain-fed cow, you'd see a lot more what they call marbling, which is the white streaks and swirlies in the meat. That's fat. So if you looked at a grass-fed shoulder or cut next to a grain-fed cut, the grain-fed cut's got tons of marbling in it, meaning it's got a lot of excess fat. That means the animal was fat, probably unhealthy. It's not necessarily happy because when you stuff a cow with corn all day and grain, it means it's probably not roaming very much, so it's not going to be the healthiest of animals.
Okay.
They also treat a lot of those grains with enormous amounts of pesticides, and the cow's eating all that. With a grass-fed cow, that's if you left a cow to its own devices and you didn't like force it to eat things, it's going to mostly eat grass, and that means they're walking around. Cows are called ruminants. You heard of this word?
No.
Ruminant animals. They graze. The word ruminating, to sit there, kind of sit in something, it's because when cows eat, to digest, they sit down on the ground and they ruminate.
Interesting.
It's kind of weird. Cows ruminating, but they're called ruminant animals. So it's to do with their digestive system as well. They have a very long digestive system, 4 chambers for their stomach. It takes a lot of work to break down grass. That's why we can't eat grass. We have 1 chamber. So all that to say is when the cow eats nothing but grass, it can extract the nutrients from the grass, properly process them, and make them more bioavailable for us in the form of its meat or its dairy, if you can tolerate dairy. So,
any places that you like and trust to get grass-fed beef? Is there like a suggestion?
You can. Well, you can usually at a grocery store. You can find them. You just have to. You want it to say 100% grass-fed.
Okay.
Because a lot of times it'll say grass-fed beef, but then if you flip it over and read, or you were to look into it, technically they can call it grass-fed, but then they'll finish it with grain, which means in the last few months of its life, they fatten it up with corn. If it says 100% grass-fed, they can't say that unless it's 100% grass-fed. But as far as a specific company, every now and then I'll order a box from Butcher Box. It's an online meat company. They're very particular about their animals and where they get them from and how they treat them and what they feed them. So, and they'll disclose what they were fed, which I like. So, and it's relatively affordable. It's not crazy expensive. You probably save a little bit if you're buying grass-fed beef is expensive. That's the downside of grass-fed beef. So I usually get ground beef because it's the cheapest form of grass-fed.
So grass-fed ground beef.
Typically, it's very convenient, but I like any generally. I mean, I like a good steak, but it's hard on the pocketbook. So.
What do you like? How do you prepare grass-fed ground beef? Are you?
For me, it's not going to be appetizing, but I just cook it in a skillet. Right now, I just cook it in a skillet with some sea salt at the end, and that's about it. Sometimes I'll slice up a green apple and throw it in there with it.
That actually sounds pretty good. You just brown it?
It's really good.
You brown it?
You just brown it. Now you could dress it up with some sauce, whatever. It makes a good Italian meat sauce, whatever. The one complaint I've heard from some people about grass-fed beef is that it tastes gamey because it's a healthier, leaner, more muscular animal. So I don't really get that from it, but I have tried what's called Kobe beef or Wagyu beef, which is incredibly fatty. It's like the other end of the spectrum. It's considered gourmet beef, and it tastes wonderful. It does. It's not nearly as good for you. It's like half marble. It's like it's really fatty and greasy.
Half fat.
Yeah, not the best. Grass-fed beef's leaner, a little more protein because of by nature being leaner, right? Less fat throughout the flesh. So I tend to like it better. So that's my first. Beef is very bioavailable. We've talked about that in the protein podcast. You're going to use almost everything you eat. Your body doesn't waste meat generally. It's got a lot of trace minerals, lots of iron, heme iron, which is absorbable, bioavailable iron. A lot of the iron in plants is not very absorbable. So I like that. It's got choline, a lot of vitamin B, B12 particularly, which is typically an animal-sourced vitamin. It's not easy to get, if at all possible, from plants. So I like that as well, nutritionally for beef. I also like the taste.
There you go.
And I don't need it to be complicated. Beef tastes pretty good once you cook it.
Yeah.
And put a little salt on there. It's really good.
It's good to go.
Next one. We
ready?
Next
one. Let's do it.
Next one is blackberries. I love blackberries.
I love blackberries too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was brushing up on my Blackberry literature before this because that's what people do is we brush up on our Blackberry literature.
Blackberry lit.
Blackberry lit, and I discovered to my surprise that I took a note of this because it was shocking to me. It's technically not a berry. It is an aggregate fruit, which is a small druplet containing the seed. Because you ever, like blackberries look like they could fall apart. You could break them apart.
Yeah.
All the little seeds are like little sacks of juice with a seed inside. That sounds kind of gross. But they're technically not a berry, but
they're an aggregate fruit.
Aggregate fruit, but nobody wants to say that. Just call it a berry. So I like them because their flavor is very pleasing to most people. They're sweet, but oddly, they're very low in carbohydrates. So it's like you don't get that punishing sugar spike from eating blackberries.
Is that another word for they're not very high glycemic? They're
a low glycemic fruit. So yeah, good. That's a good way to put it. So I did a calculation, 6 ounces, which if you go to the grocery store, that's what they come in, is a 6-ounce carton. Like strawberries come in this rectangular large carton.
Yeah.
But if you look at blackberries or raspberries, typically they come in this square-shaped, shallow carton. It's 6 ounces of blackberries. And the net carbs, meaning you've got total carbs, subtract the fiber because you don't absorb the fiber, is 7.3. You can eat an entire carton of them. You're getting 7.3 grams of sugar. Not too bad. Not too bad. And it's a good source of, if you're into fiber, want lots of that fiber, it's a lot of insoluble fiber. So it's going to help bulk the stool. Yeah. That's not the reason I like them. I like them because they taste good. And they have a lot of vitamin C in them and some antioxidants. So that's why I like blackberries.
Well, I'm pumped to hear this is on your list because I like
Yeah, blackberries. It's one of those things I'll typically eat, and they're a little cheaper than raspberries typically. Now, right now at Aldi, as of 2 days ago, it's reversed, which is crazy. Raspberries are cheaper, but blackberries also I find don't seem to bother the stomach as much as raspberries.
Okay.
So like when people eat a lot of them, raspberries sometimes are associated with some gastrointestinal upset, like bloating or severe gas. They have a high fiber content. But chemically, they're a little different from raspberries, so that might have something to do with it. And they're pretty versatile. You can make a pie or eat. I just eat them fresh, though.
I do, too. What season is a blackberry season?
That's hard to say because now the way agriculture is winter here is summer somewhere else. So you can find. I generally don't have a hard time finding them.
Okay.
I think
you can eat these year round.
Yeah, I think they're mainly in season in around here in July, maybe.
Okay.
I feel like that's what I read. But like a month ago, I found them on sale. So like big old shipment came in at Aldi. Depends on where you get them. Now some people are particular about. We get to go into that in another podcast, but eating seasonal fruit, like that's sort of a new emerging trend, is to try to eat the fruit only when it's in season and only locally available. So we can go into that later as to why maybe that's an advantage, but I like blackberries too much to not eat them whenever.
You don't care where they're from.
I like them a lot. So yeah. Number 3, ready to move on?
Yes.
Raspberries. Number 3 is raspberries.
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 That was a page turner. I didn't realize we were going that
so shocking. It's shocking that I like raspberries. I have the same measurement. This is very similar to the reason I like blackberries. So raspberries, 6 ounces. They come in the same size carton as blackberries do. They are 9 grams of net carbs. A few more than the blackberries, but still not. You're eating a whole carton of fruit. You'd expect to have kind of a sugar overload from that. You're not going to get that from raspberries. Okay. So I like, honestly, overall, the flavor of raspberries a little better than blackberries. I do. But blackberries are tougher. Like they don't wilt and fall apart and mold as fast. They keep a little longer. That's why, I guess I didn't rank them, but I more often buy blackberries. They're also cheaper.
Blackberries do mold fast.
Well, it depends on like, so if you're at the store, you can kind of look and see if they're looking mushy. So I usually look to see like they're firm and kind of plump. Yeah. And I know, okay, these will keep a while. But raspberries are so delicate. You have to be very careful with them.
You have to eat them soon.
You have to eat them soon generally. And if you handle them too much, they fall apart, they crumble. But they're so delicious, raspberries. The thing about raspberries is if you eat too many, some people have some gas and bloating. That's any fruit, though. Yeah. Similar reason, though, I like them compared to blackberries. High in vitamin C. They've got some antioxidants, good source of fiber. They're actually both blackberries and raspberries higher than you'd think in protein. There's like 2 or 3 grams of protein per serving, which is pretty good for a fruit. That's not common. It's probably it's the seed that you're consuming. So.
Could you ever have like a whole meal of fruit? Like
me personally?
Yeah.
Could I do? Yeah. That
really?
Wouldn't be hard at all.
You could do a blackberry, raspberry bowl and be completely fine.
Yeah. That wouldn't be enough, but yeah. I'd need if my meal was only going to be blackberries and raspberries, I'd have to be a lot of them. Okay. Because they're not very filling to me. Okay. So I can just keep eating them. So, but yeah, I love them. I'm not saying you should make your full meal raspberries and blackberries, but personal preference, yeah, the taste is so good I can just continuously eat them. So
all right, what's next?
Well, next you'll have to tune in for part 2.
Well, then there you go. That's a cliffhanger.
That's a cliffhanger. You have to return.
That was good.
The anxiety will get you, right? You just got to know what my next 2 are.
So this is the cliffhanger. Hang on till next week, guys.
Right.
We will be back with Lucas on Dive Into Diet as a part 2 of his favorite foods.
Don't go away.